So I came on here a while back to seek advice. I was wondering if I was wrong for asking my husband to put off the divorce he requested for a few years while I finished up schooling. Consensus was, I was the jerk. Since then, I have worked on myself and decided to ask for the alimony and child support I deserve. I've been a stay-at-home mom for 10 years and helped build his small business along the way. Originally, my husband was miserable to be around and wasn't himself when I told him I needed some time before the divorce to be on my feet. I came on here and everyone told me the poor guy felt trapped because of my request. So I let that go and said we'll get the full divorce, 4-month process in our state, and move on with our lives. I have the paperwork ready. Told him to find a lawyer. He found one that wasn't licensed. Through simple channels, I was able to find out that the person claiming to be a lawyer online was not licensed through the state. I run the operations for his small business, so I'm savvy in these things. My husband is incredible in his field, not exaggerating. He's one of the best, if not the best in his profession where we live, but the business side of things has been all me since we've met. Since I helped him dodge a bullet, he hasn't put much effort into the divorce process. Here's the kicker. I agreed to pretty much everything he recommended we do. 1. Stay living together as long as possible. He takes the guest room while I stay in the primary bedroom. When he decides to start dating, he moves out and we try our hand at bird nesting with the kids. The kids stay at home. We rotate as parents with him coming twice a week for overnights and every day for short visits. 2. Continue to help operate the business without being put on payroll. I was never on payroll to save on taxes. If things get contentious, which I doubt they will on my end, I always do my job, even when we've had the ugliest fights. Then I will find a manager for the business to fill my position. 3. Agree to 50-50 custody and joint decision-making so that he doesn't feel like I have the upper hand with the courts. This even though we will be doing an 80-20 split in reality, and I am the primary decision maker. The problem is this. He hasn't moved his feet to get this process going on his end. He's been acting like things are good between us, asking for hugs and being more supportive than he was during our marriage. We have intimacy still, but I don't snuggle him afterward or engage in pillow talk and keep things professional otherwise. I'm not dumb, but a woman has needs. I set up a therapy session for our 13-year-old at the end of the week. She's biologically his, but I've been her mama and the closest parent to her since we met when she was 3. I don't want her feeling abandoned. The only thing we don't agree on actually is her living with me when he's ready to move out. I know she would want to. He knows the same, but hates the idea of her not going to his apartment with him. Per the therapist's recommendation, I told him we needed to schedule a sit-down to talk with our daughter about the divorce before our therapy session. He was quiet, said, "I'll see," and left it at that. I asked again last night while our teen was at soccer practice and the 2 little ones were asleep in the car after a family day out. Perfect time to talk, right? Apparently I was wrong, and he said he decided that we're going to hold off on talking to her about it. I told him I don't agree, and then he said his decision was final and that we would go to therapy with her to work on our communication as a family, not to discuss the divorce as planned. I'm pissed because I have had to prepare so much for this transition, and now dude's dragging his feet. I want him in the guest room already so he can stop trying to touch my feet in bed with his, and we can both move on with our lives. Can't do that until we tell our daughter, and I don't want her being blindsided in all of this. The therapist told us both that the more we can keep our teen in the loop with the process, the better. So, am I the idiot for pushing the issue? He wanted this, so he needs to man up and face the music. Am I being insensitive? Now, for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. You're the idiot. You are still my God. You are still giving him everything. You are still making 0 money and a business that brings him $200,000. You are still giving him intimacy, and now you're shocked he's holding off on the divorce. Why? This way, he still gets intimacy, no child support, and no alimony. You've made it too easy for him. Of course he's going to stay. Comment 2. You're sending mixed signals. Stop having intimacy with him. Stop the affection. You can be cordial and co-parent without anything else. He's dragging his feet because he has the best of both worlds, his independence and a wife. Now for the update. Hey everyone, thanks for all the advice and support on my last post. It's been a month since then, and boy, do I have an update for you. So after my last post, I thought things were going to move forward smoothly. I was wrong. My husband, let's call him Mark, has been dragging his feet on the divorce. It's like he's living in a fantasy where we're still a happy family. He's been extra affectionate, which is confusing because he's the one who wanted the divorce in the first place. Remember how I said I was going to ask for alimony and child support? Well, I did, and Mark agreed without any fuss. That should have been my first clue that something was off. He's never agreed to anything without a debate. It's like he's trying to butter me up or something. Now, let's talk about the business. I've been running the operations for his business since the beginning. I know that place inside and out. But since we agreed on the divorce, Mark has been trying to take over some of my responsibilities. It's like he's testing the waters to see if he can manage without me. Spoiler alert, he can't. The other day, he tried to handle a client meeting on his own, and it was a disaster. The client was so upset they threatened to pull their account. I had to step in and smooth things over. But here's where things get really messy. Our 13-year-old daughter, let's call her Emily, is starting to notice the tension between us. She's been asking questions, and I think it's time we tell her about the divorce. I brought it up to Mark, and he shut me down immediately. He said he's not ready to tell her and that we should wait. Wait for what? I have no idea. I'm not the only one who's frustrated. Emily's therapist said it's crucial for her to be in the loop, but Mark is being stubborn. He's acting like he has all the control over the situation. It's infuriating. And then there's the whole living situation. We agreed that he would move into the guest room, but he's still in our bedroom. He keeps trying to be intimate, and I've given in a few times because, well, I have needs, but it's making things more complicated. I want him to move out so we can start the bird nesting arrangement for the kids, but he's not taking any steps to find a new place. The other day, I thought we were finally going to have a breakthrough. Mark came home from work and said we needed to talk. I thought he was going to say he found an apartment or that he was ready to tell Emily about the divorce. But no, he wanted to talk about renewing our vows. I was speechless. Here I am, ready to move on with my life, and he's talking about renewing vows? I told him that was not going to happen, and we got into a huge argument. He said he's been rethinking the divorce and that he wants to work on our marriage. I couldn't believe it. After everything, now he wants to work on our marriage? I'm at my wit's end. I've been preparing myself and the kids for this divorce, and now he's backpedaling. I don't know what to do. I want to push forward with the divorce, but Mark is making it impossible. And to top it all off, Emily overheard our argument. She's been asking even more questions. And I don't know how much longer I can keep the truth from her. I feel like I'm stuck between a rock and a hard place. I refused my husband's help with dinner, but he ruined it anyway. His mom ate it, and I banned her. Then he bought her a necklace. I'm 3 months postpartum, and I've been overwhelmed to the max. When I need help, it's not offered at all. When I don't want help, all of a sudden everyone is up my butt telling me to go sit down and they'll handle it. And yes, I have brought this up several times. I have flipped my chute about it, I've talked calmly about it, and somehow it's always a, well, I never know what you want argument, despite me being pretty freaking vocal. Sorry in advance, I'm literally so angry right now. My husband's mother stays in our in-law apartment, and randomly she will come down for dinner. I told my husband 3 days ago to tell his mother to not come to dinner tonight because I was making something for myself and I was freezing the leftovers so I could reheat it and have it whenever I wanted. It's my favorite meal, and I only get it once in a blue moon. My husband asked me at least 8 times if I wanted his help, and I said no over and over again. It's a family recipe that I know by heart, and he doesn't follow directions. He always has an input and tries adding extra. So I said no. Well, he kept coming out, and I'm trying to cook and stirring the pot and getting directly in my way. He then starts adding the stock to the pan when it's not even ready yet, so I snapped and told him to go play with the baby or something. He puts his hands up, says sorry, and walks off. Well, I ran to the bathroom and had my pot on simmer and came out and found him pouring 2 cups of water into my pan. It does not call for water. He didn't know this, to be fair. So I flipped the frick out and told him to get out of the kitchen because he's now ruined my dish. He threw his hands up in frustration and said, "It was freaking burning." It wasn't burning at all. In an attempt to fix my watered-down mixture, I just added cheese and some heavy cream. It still tastes good this way. I finally get done and let it cool on the back burner of the stove after we eat, in silence. Well, I went to feed the baby in the nursery, and when I came down, I found his mother in the kitchen eating out of the pan. My husband was in the detached garage, so he had no idea she was in there. I screamed for my husband, who came in and saw his mom's spoon still in hand, with eyes bugged out like a deer in headlights. He says, "Fucking Christ, Mom, really?" And I just lost it. I started crying excessively and told them they have both ruined my dinner and my night, and I think they should both leave for a while. I told mother-in-law, since she's paying rent, and I can't technically kick her out, that she is not welcome at all in my main house until further notice. She has an outdoor staircase and doesn't have to come into my house at all. My husband is pissed at me. He said I'm being ridiculous over food and that he had only tried to help and that it looks like his mom only took a bite, and he doesn't know what to do to keep me happy anymore because all I do is cry apparently over small shoot. Am I the idiot? Now, for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. Okay, it's time to explain to your stupid husband the meaning behind "too many cooks spoil the broth." If you are doing a task, he needs to check in with you before helping by finishing the task for you. If he thought it was burning, you turn down the stove or remove from heat. You don't add to the pot. What a cave woman. Eating straight out of the shared pot. Bletch. Comment 2. Well, sometimes you want to make comfort food just for yourself and know there are leftovers for easy access later. So, not the idiot for that. Your husband stood up for you, but why on earth is he accusing you of being in the wrong for crying when you're overwhelmed and upset? That doesn't seem right to me. Now, for the update. Hey everyone, a lot has happened since my last post, and I'm here to spill the tea. I'm 3 months postpartum, and I've been overwhelmed to the max. When I need help, it's not offered at all. When I don't want help, all of a sudden everyone is up my butt telling me to go sit down and they'll handle it. And yes, I have brought this up several times. I have flipped my shoot about it. I've talked calmly about it, and somehow it's always a, "well, I never know what you want" argument, despite me being pretty vocal. Sorry in advance. I'm literally so angry right now. So, after the whole dinner fiasco with my husband and his mom, things went from bad to worse. My husband, let's call him Dave, was already on thin ice with me after ruining my favorite dish. But then the next day, he tried to make it up to me by surprising me with breakfast in bed. Sounds sweet, right? Wrong. He decided to use the leftovers from my ruined dish to make some sort of breakfast casserole. I couldn't believe it. I was so mad I couldn't even speak. I just got up, dumped the whole thing in the trash, and left the room. Dave was stunned. He followed me, trying to explain that he thought it would be a nice gesture, but I wasn't having it. I told him that he just doesn't get it and that I needed some space. He left for work early, and I was left alone with the baby and my thoughts. Now let's talk about my mother-in-law, whom we'll call Linda. Linda has always been the type to push boundaries. Before the dinner incident, she used to come into our house without knocking, rearrange my kitchen, and even go through my mail. I've had talks with Dave about setting boundaries with her, but he's a total mama's boy and usually just brushes it off. After I banned Linda from the main house, she was furious. She started sending passive-aggressive texts to Dave, saying things like, "I guess I'm not part of the family anymore, and I just wanted to help my son and his wife." Dave was feeling guilty and caught between us, which only made things more tense at home. But here's where things get juicy. A couple of days ago, I was doing laundry and found a receipt in Dave's pocket. It was for a necklace from a fancy jewelry store, and it was dated for the day after the breakfast disaster. I was confused because I hadn't received any jewelry from him. My mind started racing with all sorts of thoughts. Was he cheating on me? Who was the necklace for? I confronted Dave when he got home, and he looked like a deer caught in headlights. He stammered and finally admitted that the necklace was for Linda. He said he felt bad about the whole situation and wanted to cheer her up. I was floored. He bought his mother an expensive necklace because she felt left out. What about me, his wife, who's been struggling with a newborn and feeling unsupported? I told Dave that this was unacceptable and that he needed to figure out where his loyalties lay. He apologized and promised to return the necklace and focus on our family. I was skeptical, but decided to give him a chance to make things right. The next day, Dave came home from work with a small box. He handed it to me, and inside was the necklace. He said he had returned Linda's and bought an identical one for me as a symbol of his commitment to our family. I was touched, but still wary of his actions. That evening, Linda came down to talk. She had heard about the necklace and was livid that Dave had taken it back. She started yelling about how ungrateful I was and how she deserved to be treated better. Dave finally stepped up and told her that she needed to respect our family and our rules. He said that if she couldn't do that, maybe she should find another place to live. Linda stormed off, and I haven't seen her since. Dave has been more attentive and is finally starting to understand my need for support without being overbearing. It's not perfect, but it's a start. As for the necklace, I haven't decided if I'm going to keep it. It's beautiful, but it's also a reminder of a very rocky time in our marriage. For now, it's sitting in my jewelry box, and I'm focusing on taking care of myself and my baby. My mother-in-law scared my baby, so I banned her from holding her, but she didn't listen. Now she's in for a harsh wake-up call. My mother-in-law is 64 years old. My husband and I are both 30 years old, and we have a 4-month-old daughter. I've had an issue with this since day one. So she came to see us when my daughter was 5 or 6 days old, and the way she held my baby was ridiculous. She held her face down with her head sideways, her hand on her head, and no other support. My daughter's legs pointed up toward my mother-in-law's elbow, and she swung her back and forth fast enough to give her the startle reflex repeatedly while screaming. She laughed about it. Apparently, she thought my daughter being scared was hilarious. I took my daughter back, told her she was never to hold my daughter like that again. She argued that she had 4 kids and knew what she was doing, but refused to see my point of view. So I didn't let her hold my daughter again until she was 2 months old. The same thing happened again. As soon as she was able to hold my daughter again, she started flinging her around in the same position. I immediately took her back and said, "Obviously, you haven't learned your lesson. I told you that you weren't to hold my daughter like that. I don't find it funny that she's screaming while you're flinging her around and not supporting her body at all." I told her and my husband that she's not holding my daughter again until she stops disrespecting me. My husband was pissed but didn't say anything because he gets it and understands why it bothers me, but he is still bothered that his mom is alienated. I told him that when she learns to respect me, she will get another opportunity. He agrees. Well, she has been coming over often, and I figured I would give it another shot because she has been behaving, and it's been 2 months since the last incident. She took the baby but immediately flung her downward while aggressively getting her neck with no support to her head or anything. Again, my daughter started screaming and flailing her arms out in a startle reflex. My mother-in-law laughed again and said, "Ooh, such a scared baby. It's because Mama don't play with you." I took my baby from her arms, told her to leave, and said she will not be holding her ever again. She asked why, and I said it is because she once again is being disrespectful and laughing at my daughter being scared because she refuses to stop being so aggressive with her. She turned to my husband and said, "Screw this, I won't be coming around anymore," and left. My husband is pissed at me right now. He says I'm cutting his mother out over my fear and that the baby was fine and she raised 4 kids and likely did the same shoot to us and we turned out fine. I refuse to budge on this. I'm not okay with her flinging my baby around. I don't care how many babies she raised. Am I the idiot? Just so we are clear, my baby is not colic and she hardly ever cries. If she does, it's because she's tired and I can calm her in seconds. When my mother-in-law holds her, however, she literally screams. Even if she wasn't doing anything wrong, as a mom with a baby who hardly cries, hearing my baby literally scream while this woman does this is not okay at all. E2. I want to point out as well that I did not know it would be like this when marrying into the family. We barely saw my mother-in-law because we lived over an hour away. We now live 5 minutes away, and it's been hell. It's obvious that I married a mommy's boy now. I'm hopping off for a while. Thank you, guys. Now for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. Your mother-in-law is weird, like crazy weird. Who wants to see their grandchild in distress? Your husband needs to understand just how dangerous the way your mother-in-law is handling your child. Bring him to the next well visit and explain what she is doing so he can hear from the doctor just how dangerous it is, not the idiot. Comment 2. Bring your foolish husband on a Zoom appointment with the baby's pediatrician and let them explain why this is hurtful and dangerous behavior. Find an excuse to put cameras up in main living areas in case he sneaks his mother in while you are out. Now, for the update. Hey everyone, thanks for all the support on my last post. It's been a hectic week, and I've got quite the update for you all. After the last incident with my mother-in-law, things were tense at home. My husband was still fuming, caught between his loyalty to his mom and his understanding of my concerns. We've always been a team, but this was testing us in ways we never expected. It didn't help that my mother-in-law had a history of being overbearing. I remember when we first got married, she would call every day, sometimes multiple times, to check in on us. It was sweet at first, but it quickly became suffocating. A few days after she stormed out, my husband and I had a long, hard talk. We dug into our past, remembering how we'd promised to always put our family first. We talked about our daughter's future and how we wanted her to grow up feeling safe and loved. It was emotional, but it was necessary. We agreed that we needed to set boundaries with his mother for our daughter's sake. The next day, my mother-in-law showed up unannounced. She had a habit of doing that, even before our daughter was born. It used to drive me nuts, but I'd learned to deal with it. This time, though, I was ready to stand my ground. She came in, all smiles, as if nothing had happened. She tried to reach for our daughter, but I blocked her. I was firm but calm. I explained that her behavior was unacceptable and that she needed to respect our rules if she wanted to be a part of our daughter's life. My husband stood by me, adding that we both loved her, but we couldn't risk our daughter's well-being. You could see the shock on her face. She wasn't used to being challenged, especially by her son. Then, the unexpected happened. She broke down in tears. She confessed that she had been feeling useless since all her children had grown up and left home. She admitted that she was trying too hard to be involved and that she didn't realize how her actions were affecting us. It was a jaw-dropping moment. We'd never seen this vulnerable side of her. We spent the next few hours talking, really talking about everything. She shared stories of her own struggles as a young mother, things my husband had never heard before. It was like we were seeing her for the first time. She apologized profusely for her behavior and promised to change. The days that followed were a complete turnaround. She started asking for permission before coming over and was much more gentle with our daughter. It was like she was a different person. My husband and I were cautiously optimistic, but we could see the genuine effort she was making. Then came the moment of truth. She asked to hold our daughter again. I was nervous, but I could tell she was sincere. I handed her over, and to my relief, she held her perfectly. She supported her head, rocked her gently, and for the first time, our daughter didn't cry. She actually giggled. My heart swelled seeing them like that. It was a moment I never thought I'd witness. My husband and I exchanged a look, a silent agreement that maybe, just maybe, we were on the path to healing our little family. It wasn't easy getting here, and I know there might be bumps in the road ahead, but for now, we're enjoying this peace. It's been a week since that day, and things have been better than ever. If you liked this video, you'll probably like these too. Also, while you're here, please consider subscribing. It's your support that keeps this channel alive and allows me to make better and longer videos. Have a great day.